Hello everyone, I'm Kay Jones, and I'd like to share my latest book with you. The book is Meet Nielsen Kisselfinke. The neatest part about this is that I wrote the words and my mom is the illustrator, so she drew all of the pictures. I hope you enjoy it. Hello there, reader. Thank you for choosing this book. Of all the books available to you, you selected this one. Surely you will greatly enjoy it. Well, I suppose you'd like to meet the main character in this story. Turn the page. This is Nielsen Kisselfinke. Yes, Kisselfinke. It's okay. It takes most people a few times to get it right. Nielsen was born in England. Elephant, to be precise. No, he was not born in an elephant. Elephant is a place. Actually, it's called Elephanton Castle. No, he was not born at a zoo that's inside a castle. Elephanton Castle is a place in the country of England. Anyway, Nielsen was born in Elephant, an area in the city of London. When he was a boy, he would go to St. James Park to have a picnic lunch and read a good book. Can you spot him? That's him on the bench there. Yes, Nielsen wore a top hat even then. Anyway, Nielsen has always loved to read. Reading became one of his passions early on, as his mother often read to him from storybooks at bedtime. His father also enjoyed reading to Nielsen, usually sharing the latest news in the Evening Standard, an important London newspaper. As a result, Nielsen grew up loving the printed word in all its forms. Learning to read earlier than most children, he read every word he could, greedily deciphering words on signs, in theaters, at the market, anywhere and everywhere he went. Because Nielsen loved books and words so much, he frequently visited the library. He went as often as he could. The librarians all knew him by name and offered book suggestions when Nielsen stopped by for a visit. As Nielsen grew, he started in school. His classmates found him quite amusing. They especially liked to poke fun at how he dressed. Now don't start feeling bad for Nielsen. He never felt bad for himself. Showing kindness to all, he wasn't afraid to be who he was and accept others for who they were. Shortly after Nielsen's 12th birthday, his parents announced that the family would be moving across the ocean to the United States. Nielsen was very curious about this new place called Neenah, Wisconsin, where he would be living from now on. Wisconsin? Oh, haven't you heard of that state? Wisconsin is located in the Midwest of the United States. It is famous for things like cheese, cranberries, and cows. Yes, cows. Also, have you ever heard of the Green Bay Packers? The Packers are a football team in Wisconsin, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to be exact about it, which is not too far from Neenah. Nielsen moved to Neenah the summer after the football stadium in Green Bay was renamed Lambeau Field in honor of the well-loved coach Curly Lambeau. Hold on. We've gone a bit off track here. If you want to learn more about the Green Bay Packers, you can find books and websites for more information. But let's get back to the story at hand. After moving to Neenah, the very first thing Nielsen insisted on doing was locating the local library and signing up for a library card. Nielsen's parents, Gerda and Reginald, loved their son for who he was and encouraged him to pursue his interests. So on their very first day in Neenah, they allowed Nielsen to strike out on the streets of the lovely town in order to find the library, while they set about the boring adult tasks of seeing to their new home and unpacking the family's belongings. As Nielsen wandered the streets of Neenah, he noticed a long road that went right through the downtown area. Nielsen strode in that direction, tipping his top hat to everyone he passed. Some of the folks were a bit startled by the young man wearing a top hat and ascot, but Neenah folk, being friendly as they are, smiled in return and greeted Nielsen with warm hellos and amiable waves. Reading each sign as he passed, Nielsen finally came upon the Neenah Public Library. To his delight, he discovered that the door was unlocked and a librarian was pleased to help him sign up for a library card. Nielsen so impressed her with his maturity and manners that she even allowed him to borrow more books than children were normally allowed to check out. As she observed to others in the library, Nielsen was clearly not a typical child. Plopping himself down at a tall oak table, Nielsen perused the novels and storybooks he had selected from the pristine shelves. Big kids can't check out storybooks, you say? That is absolute rubbish, as Nielsen would say. Anyone of any age can enjoy a good storybook. Who isn't enchanted by a magical world of fairy tales? Who is not given into the lure of a tantalizing mystery? Any person can enjoy a storybook. Now, when Nielsen was finished checking out reading materials, he continued on down the road, books in hand. When he reached the end of the road on which he'd begun his travels, he was enchanted by the beautiful Lake Winnebago that lay before him. The lake was surrounded by lovely trees and a park, not to mention the lighthouse perched on the edge of the shore. During his childhood and adult years, Nielsen would often ride his bicycle to the park, nestle on a bench, and enjoy an enchanting book. Nielsen stood at the edge of the water, peering across the sun-dappled waves. As he gazed into the distance, he felt in his heart that he had found a truly special place. In order to explore further, Nielsen continued to walk along the water's edge, glancing at the beautiful homes he passed and listening to the screech of the seagulls that dove and wheeled overhead. In the lawn of one of the elegant homes Nielsen passed, there were two children sitting together. Nielsen lifted his top hat and bent slightly at the waist in a stately bow. One of the children, a young boy about 7 years old, came trotting over to Nielsen. "Hello, my name is Geordie Calhoun. That's my sister Joan," he said, pointing at the girl, who appeared to be about 5. "Can you help us?" he asked, his eyes wide. Nielsen glanced at the young girl and noticed that she was crying. Clearing his throat in an authoritative manner, Nielsen strode over to Joan. "Well," Nielsen said gently to the young girl, "what seems to be the matter?" Joan wiped at the tears that were wetting her cheeks. Her wide blue eyes looked into Nielsen's green ones. "It's okay," Geordie told her. "He's tall. He may be able to help us." Upon hearing this, Nielsen lifted one eyebrow in surprise. "What in heaven's name does my height have to do with anything?" he asked curiously. Well, after a lot of animated discussion, Geordie and Joan interrupting each other, and more tears, Nielsen was finally able to understand that the family cat had escaped a short while ago. It seemed that the beast had climbed a tall tree, and the children couldn't reach her to bring her down. Upon inspection of the tree and the feline, Nielsen told the brother and sister that he would be happy to assist them. "Do you need a boost?" Geordie asked. Nielsen gave him a sideways glance. "I will not be climbing this tree, young man," he said sternly. Geordie's face fell in disappointment. Truth be told, the young lad had been eager to see this tall stranger climb the tree, to see if his top hat would fall off. Young Kisselfinke instructed Joan to fetch some tuna fish or sardines from the kitchen. The little girl scampered off into the house to do as she was told. Upon returning with a small container, Joan explained that her mother had made tuna salad for lunch just yesterday. Dismissing this information with a dignified sniff, Nielsen carefully removed the lid from the container. Placing it at the base of the tree trunk, Nielsen stepped back and motioned for the children to follow. After a moment's time, the cat leapt from one branch to another, finally jumping to the ground below. Darting a glance at Nielsen, Geordie, and Joan, the feline cautiously crept toward the container. Then, abandoning all reservation, she began to gobble the tuna fish ravenously. "Now," Nielsen said softly, "would be a good time for one of you to get a hold of that beast and bring it inside." You see, Nielsen could not take the cat himself because he was allergic. Sneezing, as you must know, is very undignified. Just then, a boy who looked to be about Nielsen's age emerged from the back door of the house. Upon seeing a stranger with his younger siblings, he hustled across the lawn. Little did Nielsen know that this person was going to be his very best friend, Freddie. "Oh dear, it appears as though we've run out of pages. It would seem that you will have to learn about Freddie another time, in another book. I do hope you have enjoyed meeting Nielsen Kisselfinke." Thanks for enjoying the story.